I'm Jessie. Thank you for joining my session. First of all, I would like to thank StarProperty for having me on this virtual fair itself. Now, my topic for this particular session is Dawn of a New Era with Feng Shui and a paradigm shift of the cosmos. Now, first of all, I would like to share with you what is Feng Shui all about. I'm sure some of you probably have heard about the much hyped up words. Okay, a lot of people have been talking about Feng Shui. All right, but what exactly is Feng Shui? How does it work and how is it going to actually impact us in our life? And what is it that we are talking about, that shift or that change that is actually happening in the external environment now? Now, first of all, Feng Shui is actually part of Chinese metaphysics when we talk about the cosmic Trinity. Now, everything in life itself, when we study the classic Chinese metaphysics, everything in life itself, it comprises of these three components of the cosmic Trinity. In other words, the whole cosmos is actually impacted by these three impacts: the heaven, earth, and man. Now, a lot of time people have been talking about what's heaven. Heaven is something that has been predestined, something that's given to us, something that we cannot change nor we can choose. For instance, example, whether we are male or female, what family background we are born into, what, in a way, religious background that we are in, what ethnic group that we are, whether we are born in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Australia, in India, or in China. Now, different places give us a different head start in life itself, and this 1/3 of life cannot be changed. Now, the other 2/3 of the equation is the earth luck. Now, when we talk about earth luck talks about the environment, and Feng Shui falls into this category. Now, earth luck represents our environment, the people that we spend most of our time with, whether or not we are here in KL, or we are actually somewhere in a rural area in India, or we are in America, or we are in Singapore. Different environment has different energy path that will impact us, and that will also attribute into 1/3 of our life destiny. And of course, the last part, which is also the most important part, is human luck, or man luck in short we call it. Now, man luck itself represents our action, our decision, whatever that we decided to do with our life, with the information that we have known or learned throughout our lifetime. So when these three things combine together, therefore our destiny is actually created. Now, a lot of people talks about destiny, like taking charge of our destiny. It actually created based on these three components itself. Now, why is it so important for us to know something regarding Feng Shui or Chinese astrology? All right. Now, it is not to prepare us or to make us a skeptic nor a superstitious person. Now, a lot of people that I've observed over the years in my practice, people are generally divided into two groups, the yin and yang groups of people. Now, there are some type of people is before they even listen to the topic or understand more about the topic, they will be very skeptical. They will be in a way very suspicious overall into the information itself. Whereas there is the other half, okay, of the equation of people who are very superstitious. Everything in their life needs to evolve around Feng Shui. Believe, what's the best color for me? What's the best number for me? What should I wear? What should I eat in order for me to actually have good luck? Now, either side of this equation is not making us any better. Now, the best thing of whatever a practitioner needs to achieve is that middle path or the middle line where balance is achieved. Therefore, if you can look at the slides here, it talks about the balance. The middle path is actually the path of wise or rational choices. Everything that we want to learn, all these forecasts, predictions, is just merely a tool to let us have a more wiser or rational choices for us to make in our life. Means we are now looking or predicting into the future as in like what is about to happen. If we know what is about to happen before it happened, we can now have the time to prepare ourselves. And when something happens, it means either it is an opportunity or not, depending on how prepared we are. So generally, a lot of people ask me about like, oh, am I going to have good luck this year, next year? What about the future, coming 5 years? Are things going to be good? Investment, is it going to be good for me? Now, general rule of thumb is you will go through good luck only when you are prepared, right? Generally, I always believe that good luck equals to preparations plus opportunities. Now imagine if we already know how or roughly what is the cycle going to be in the coming years, coming 5 to 10 years. Example, how's the economy going to be like? What are the fields or the industries will be really thriving or really prosperously doing very well? And what are the things that needs to be changed in order for us to blend into this new energy of change? Now, if we know that and we can prepare in time before the impact even happen, that is what we call about preparations for our good luck. Now, a lot of time people has another way of belief, as in like they think that they can actually look for a practitioner, hear or listen to some Feng Shui talk, and they think that their luck will change. Now, that won't happen. Okay, first of all, sorry. So first of all, we need to see that always remember, luck is what happens when preparations meets opportunity. So how do we prepare ourselves? What is the purpose of knowing all these things before it happens? Just so that we can prepare beforehand and understand the trend before it happens so that we can be the pioneer of the group that is in a way holding or controlling the market. All right, so when we look at that now, some of you might have read this article published by the Star, okay, early this year. In fact, when the article was interviewed, I was interviewed end of last year, we already predicted that 2020 itself is a year of fear. It's a year where you can see that it's getting cold, darkness, people would generally feel sad, depressed, and miserable. Now we are 9 months into the year itself and look at what is happening to the world. Now, how do we make these predictions itself? How do we forecast this to happen? It's because that we look at the alignment of the stars. The energy shift every year itself will create a different sort of like energy in the environment that will greatly impact the external, and after that will also impact on a person emotionally, mentally as well. And this impact of the external energy is what we call Feng Shui. Now, after knowing all these things, yes, the predictions has been said that, yeah, there are fear, okay, people will be depressed, it will be a miserable year. So what? So if people who knows how to prepare earlier, they will now, in a way, are ready to overcome their fear zone. Now, always remember, in order for us to reach from the starting point into our destination or destiny, there are different zones that we are in. Now, generally, how far are we willing to go is a question that we need to ask ourselves. Are we always succumb in that fear zone? Whatever news that pops up to us, when people say that market is bad, and we just sit down there and believe that, oh my God, the market is going to be bad, okay, and I'm doomed. And then we wait there for people to actually like kick us out from our job. We wait there for people to actually hire us. We wait for things to happen. It means that we are forever in a reaction state. When something happens, we only react to it, okay? And when we do that itself, we are always in a fear zone. Now, in order to actually break through from this, we need to get ourselves into the learning zone. And the good news is, all of you here who decided to actually attend at least some of the seminars or some of the talks, by listening to all these talks itself, we are now allowing ourselves to step into the learning zone. Because everything that somehow we go and listen and in a way reflect on, it is a learning curve for us. It actually in a way fuels us for growth in our life itself. So when we are willing to learn and listen, then the next step itself will be the growth zone. And when we can go through this, that is when we can reach the final destination in our life itself, fulfilled and also be at the top of our game. But the thing is then now, how Feng Shui is going to help us. Now, firstly, we have to understand Feng Shui is a cycle of energy. So those of you who are familiar with Feng Shui, we know that every 20 years, there will be a change or a shift of energy. And all total, the full shift or the full change itself takes 180 years for a full cycle to happen. So if you look at this particular slide itself, you see Feng Shui 3 cycles, 9 periods table is actually a form or school of Feng Shui thoughts. And currently, we are here at the lower period, period 8, we call it. If you can see the highlighted area there, period 8 is from year 2004 to 2023. And we are at the end of this particular period. So now you know that, okay, we are in an era where you see that a lot of external energy is massively changing, impacting on individual, whether you are consciously aware of it or not, all right? It means that somehow it will impact you, just like gravity. Whether you are conscious and you're aware of it or not, we are still affected by it. Now, that is exactly how Feng Shui works. And if you pay attention, we are about to go through into the last period of the whole cycle of 180 years. This means that we are actually at the brim of a major shift and a major change in life, or in the immediate environment, in the cosmos, in our environment itself. All right. So when we look at this, now, what does it mean when you say, oh, Feng Shui, okay, all I know about Feng Shui is like buy a three-legged toad, okay, buy some elephant and some good auspicious object and place it at your home. How are these things is going to change the whole environment of the world? Now, first of all, classical Feng Shui talks about astrological impact on life itself. It was never about whatever we wear, what favorite color we are wearing, or whatever objects that we buy and put at home. So generally, Feng Shui, the introduction of Feng Shui is we talk about the galaxies, okay? We talk about the universe. So where we are here on Earth, if you can recognize this as a Milky Way, we are only a very small speck of a galaxy in between billions of galaxies in the universe. So when we talk about this particular universe itself, right, okay, we have a lot of different planets, different stars, the sun, the moon, we have Earth, we have like Saturn, we have Mars, we have Jupiter. All these different planets itself is orbiting in the same galaxy, okay, orbiting around with some energy or what we call a gravitational pull among the planets. So imagine planet Earth over billions of years ago is nothing but a flat ball. Okay, it's a flat sphere. But over this billion of years where you have the impact of gravity impacting on the surface of Earth itself, just imagine that now the surface of Earth is pulled by other stars or other planets around in this particular orbit over billions of years. When something has been pulling onto it, it will now affect the shift or the surface of the Earth. And because of this particular pull itself, that is when Feng Shui happens. Now, energy happens is because out of this pull that is affected of Earth and all the other planets around, okay, of different galaxies in the universe itself, it will now impact on a shift on the surface of Earth. Now, bear in mind that we have billions, at least 100 billion of galaxies. Ours, the Milky Way, is only one of them. So when all these things keep pulling, imagine that the surface of Earth now have to cracks open. Okay, now imagine when something is keep pulling on, okay, onto the surface of Earth over billions of years, it will crack open. And when it crack open, it keeps on pull up to the top. Imagine something on top there as a star is keep on pulling onto you. And the surface of Earth now will rise. Therefore, if you really go into the studies, the mountains are actually rising gradually. The Earth's surface is actually shifting gradually. All right, people who are into all these studies, they will be able to tell you that the universe is also expanding gradually. So when this is in a way pulling onto the surface of Earth, you will see that mountains are formed. Mountains are formed whenever there are certain stars, okay, above on that particular area of that Earth face that keep on constantly pulling on this particular area that resulted on a heightened level of Earth. And because of this level of Earth is heightened, it cracks open the surface of Earth, thus it forms river. Okay, so all rivers is actually water that is released from the inner of the Earth itself where the surface of Earth is cracked. So it forms streams, rivers, and eventually it forms the ocean. Now, why do we need to know all this? Because the fundamental knowledge of Feng Shui is it involves everything about the mountain and the water. So if we want to know about the major shift that we are going through now, we need to know this energy cycle is moving from what direction to what direction. So when we know it, we will know what will be the next property. For this case itself, what will be the next property that will bloom? What areas that will be making it great for the upcoming 20 over years? Okay, and how do we do that is by, like in a way, analyzing into this particular mountain and water direction. Okay, so now look back at this particular chart of the 3 cycles or the 9 periods table. Now, when you look at this chart itself, right, okay, now you can see that this chart now we are at period 8. Now, if you really pay attention, period 8 starts in early 2000. Now, if you pay attention and recall back by the late 90s or the mid 90s itself, our life is so different from where we are now. But the thing is, it doesn't really rings to us that much until we try to deliberately recall it, because everything happens so gradually that we become partly blend into it. Now, try to recall end of the 90s or early 2000. Do we have like what we are doing now, virtually in a way that doing an event? We don't even have smartphone by then, all right? We remember that at that moment itself, right? We don't have the luxurious to have this Wi-Fi or this free internet Wi-Fi, which is so easily available now. Like those days, if you try to recall in the end of 90s and all that early 2000, it is still dialed up internet. It means that either you use your phone or you use the internet. It means someone calls in, you have to hang up and you have to listen to the call, and after that dial back up into the internet. But this has gradually changed for the past 20 years itself. Some of us might not even realize it. So now bring us back to memory lanes. Do you remember like any of the cell phones? Okay, at those days, these are the things that we have. Mobile phones are actually from this type of cell phones, where we still have to remember the phone numbers of our contacts. We still have like directories, okay, to refer back to in order for us to reach out for other people. But over time itself, you see all these things, okay, has becomes gradually phasing out in our life because of that change of period 8. Period 8 changes itself where we now see a lot of like online things. We see social media. We see developments of a lot of different types of jobs or different types of career or job scope that if you reflect back 20 years ago, it doesn't even exist. All right, like if you look at cameras, okay, in those days itself, you still use camera with a film roll. All right, but nowadays it's like everyone can be happily snapping beautiful pictures away, even of like stars and like, stargazing with just a handphone. Now, these are the things when we talk about the gradual change in the environment that we might not be aware of. Okay, so but now if we pay attention to it, if we are aware of what is the next cycle of change, what will be the next trend? What will be the businesses that will thrive in the upcoming 20 years? What will be the direction that is best for Feng Shui and the areas that will in a way be prosperous, looking at the directional of the mountain and water in our environment before we make the investments? If we know all this information, isn't it better for us to invest? All right, so if you look at, like, try to recall this particular slides, if you know, now this is KL in the mid-90s, okay, comparatively to KL, all right, now few years before this. Now, of course, KL looks even more different. Now, if you see over 20 years itself, massive things have changed. Massive things has already changed. And this change itself is gradually, in a way, impacted by the external or the environment change of the environment. Now, this particular slide itself shows you a very prominent township in in the city, in KL itself. So if you look at this, right, before in the late 90s comparatively to now, there's a massive change in terms of its progress and also of its growth. Right, but the thing is now, how do we predict and how do we see this? Okay, how do we know where is the change? What is the change? And how is it going to impact us in our life? So now we have to look into the period in 8 in exact. Now, currently, we are in period 8. Still in period 8 until 2023. So when you look at this period 8, direct and indirect spirit. Now, direct and indirect spirit, or in Chinese we call 精神 and 灵神. All right, this is a way to understand and to study every 20-year cycle of period itself. There is a source of energy which is most prosperous. We need to understand from a Feng Shui perspective, where is this source of energy? So period 8 itself, the source of energy is obviously on the northeast sector, as you can see. Northeast is what we call the direct spirit. Is best for us to see mountain. Means that if you see a hill or a mountain, okay, at your property, looking out into the northeast direction, and if you see this hill or like this ranges of mountain or even a standalone mountain itself, on your northeast direction, you know that this particular property in period 8 means from 2004 up to 2023, it will prosperous. Not only that, you also want to see in period 8, which is about to expire, you want to see that water exists in the southwest direction. And that is called the indirect spirit direction. So generally in period 8, you see places that suddenly okay, prosperous, that suddenly becomes like really, really good in terms of demand, you will be able to see northeast mountain and southwest water. Now, take a look at where my office is located, Mid Valley. I'm sure all of you here are in a way like familiar of the place. Now, if you really look into a map or a Google map, all right, Mid Valley before in the 90s, it is just an abandoned area, okay, where it is like full of squatters. No one will ever imagine that this particular piece of land will be where it is now. But if you know the shift of energy and cycle, you know that this particular piece of land will definitely make it in period 8 itself. So if you really measure, Mid Valley itself looking towards the direction of northeast is going towards the direction of Seputeh Heights, or where Bukit Seputeh or your Tian Ho temple is. If you're familiar with KL, or if you just Google on your Google map or Google Earth, you'll be able to see that the mountains at this Seputeh Heights or the Tian Ho temple is exactly at the northeast direction when it is measured out from Mid Valley. And you can also see that the Klang River is going towards the southwest direction, or going out towards the southwest direction from Mid Valley. So because of this, you know that this particular piece of property will definitely make it when we enter into period 8. And of course, we have seen how Mid Valley area has bloomed over the years in the year of 2000 up to now. Now, the question now is, what will be the next energy cycle? In period 9, where should we see the mountain and where should we see the water? So if you would like to make an investment, a long-term investment that you want to see, okay, in a way that these investments will actually make a lot or tons of money for you, where should you see or spot the mountain and where should the water direction be? So because of that, we need to study on the period 9 table. So when we look at the period 9 table here of the direct and indirect spirit, all right, now always remember, direct spirit means the most prosperous source of chi of that particular period of 20 years. Now, period 9 itself, you see that it actually shifts its location. So period 9 actually located in the south. So therefore, if you're looking into investment, or if you want to actually check your current property, okay, to see its potential future, so all you need to do is stand at this particular property itself and inspect the south direction of this property. Now, direct spirit is best to see mountain, or if you can actually open a door, means that any properties that is a north-south facing or a north-south axis, okay, generally will do well in the whole of period 9. But then again, people will say that there are plenty of north-south axis property out there. Does it mean that all this property will be doing good? Now, first filter will be all north-south property, you are safe. Now, the second filter is any of these north-south axis properties, can you see or can you actually find a mountain or a hill or a ranges of mountain coming in from the south direction? So wherever you are located, okay, right, bear in mind that this particular property or piece of land now could be a land that people do not want or people have no interest over, because period 9 have not officially entered yet. But once period 9 enters, and this land itself, if you see mountain at the south direction, and if you see water at the north direction at this particular mountain property itself, that is the land that is going to thrive and prosper in year 2024 onwards. Now, generally, it will be also good for you to have a property that opens a door at the south area and you have a water feature at the north area. So if you have a house, it's somehow that you're planning to erect a water feature, it can be a swimming pool, it can be a fountain at the north area, overall, in terms of Feng Shui perspective, that will be a good move to trigger the wealth for the whole period 9 thing. So if you're thinking about renovation your house and you see that you have a north sector that can actually put in a fountain or a swimming pool in general, that will be a good trigger point for you to activate the wealth for period 9, which actually officially starts in 2024 up to 2043. Now, other than that, Some of us probably we want something which is like more scholarly pursuit, right? Something more fame, relating to fame, right? We want something that is like, recognizable. Now, having water at the southeast sector or southeast direction, that is the direction of the welcoming spirit palace. Now, welcoming spirit palace in Chinese we call 招神位. Okay, now 招神位 itself, or the welcoming spirit itself, is a good location for people who want to trigger fame, recognition. Means that somehow, like probably nowadays you have a lot of influencers, people who needs to get a lot of like likes and followers and all that. So it will be good for you to start planning to activate a water feature or a fountain at your southeast location itself. Or best still, if your property has a natural water at the southeast location. Example, if you look out towards your southeast and you see a pond, or you have a swimming pool which is already in a way built at your southeast sector. And this tells you that this particular house itself, with a mountain from the south and the water at the southeast, it is a house that will in a way like push fame and also luck. Chances are people who are staying in this particular house itself, they will in a way be recognized, or they will also bring in a lot of reputable recognitions in their pursuit or in their life. Now, after knowing this itself, knowing what is the good directions of see mountain and what are the good directions to see water, we also want to see in terms of what we can do, what are the careers, what are the industries generally will actually be thriving in a period 9. So when we look at period 9, firstly we need to understand is period 9 itself is actually an element of fire. Now, when you look at an element of fire of period 9, fire represents awakening. Fire represents like the light at the end of the tunnel. It means generally, now these are just examples, people in period 9 from now onwards are more in a way geared towards happiness, joyfulness. You see that more and more people are looking for instant gratification. More and more people are willing to pay for happiness, for enjoyment. You see a lot of even youngsters nowadays that before they even make the money, they will rather plan about a holiday. They will rather plan about something to fulfill their life. Period 9 is all about fulfillment, enjoyment, and happiness. So one of the impact is whenever, let's say if your industry, your job, your businesses is in a way selling joy or selling happiness, or you're doing a consultancy work, means that you are selling your advice, you are helping people to actually resolve their problem. This will be the businesses that will bloom in period 9. Now, other than that, period 9, now when fire burns itself, it always needs something to burn on. It always needs something to feed on it. All right. So it is something that is like long lasting. It means it depends on something, in order for it to burn. Let's say you look at a candle, it needs the wax. Oil lamp, it needs the oil. You need some substance in order for this fire to grow. Means in period 9 itself is all about collaboration. It is all about, in a way, reaching out. So the chances is now period 8 is Earth, it's about security and stability. So before this, people might have the mentality that I have to have it all within my own. I have to have everything under my own arm and own umbrella. You have a business that you need your own team into, like sales, you need your account team, you need your marketing team, everything under your own arm. But when it comes to period 9, it's always dependable on others. It's always reliable on others. So this gives us a fact that businesses now will start outsourcing. There will be more and more people eventually outsource for talents, outsource for skills, rather than in a way commit themselves into sustaining this particular team or particular department. So more and more freelance job, you will see, more and more freelancer will emerge in period 9. And it's all related to skills. So what are your skill sets? What are the plannings of your future? What do you know best in what you do? Right? If you have a skill, the chances is eventually you'll be outsourced. People will outsource to you. People will reach out to you. And the next thing about period 9, which is fire element, is it's also relating to IT and technologies. Therefore, you will also see the bloom in terms of artificial intelligence. Now, what we see now is only the starting of it, because we are just getting into period 9. You see nowadays, like people starting to have this driverless car. People are trying to have this, like, ideas about like travel outer space. Now in period 9 itself, all this will be fulfilled. Artificial intelligence will take over. We will now, in a way that most of us will be interacting more with robots rather than human in the coming future. So is your industry or your job or your skill set, okay, relating to any of this particular field? Do you know any of all these like skill sets or not? Now, artificial intelligence, IT technologies, beauty and aesthetic is also under period 9. You will see that because people are continuously, in a way, like searching for happiness, because eventually, because of the massive change, if you see fire, when fire burns, right, whenever the fire is burning, the most internal, the heart of the fire itself is void. It is empty. Therefore, you will see more and more people in period 9 itself going through a very depressive state. People seems happy from the outside, right? But internally, it is empty, it is hollow. Therefore, you will also see people, like, in a way, chasing for all this external fulfillment. People will tend to actually put something on the external side of themselves in order to make them happy. They will change their look in order to make them happy. So if you're into aesthetic, if you're into beauty line, that is also a line that will also prosper and thrive in period 9 itself. Now, other than that, period 9 also, you will foresee a lot of like automated sort of like scheme. A lot of like, in a way, short-term span, right? Let's say, for instance, now we have like a co-working space. Eventually, you can have even like co-living space. All these things will be the future in terms of period 9. So if you know beforehand, before it happens, okay, and we can be the pioneer or the first liners to actually tap into this massive change. If you can plan your business and your particular business that you have in hand and change it accordingly to the change that we are, in a way, like facing externally, we will be the first here to actually control or manage the market. If you look at like period 8, where the starting of all these social media things, when you're starting of YouTube, Facebook, and all these things, when it first started, how many of us really jumps firsthand onto it? But now, in this particular year itself, you will see even like grannies, grandparents and all that, they will start using all the social media chat groups or social media, Facebook, and all these things. Now, this will be the late comers. These are the people who are aware or blend onto the change later. So the difference is, or the most important thing for us to know all these things is, instead of going with the flow and react only when massive things have changed in our environment, we want to have that first-hand information and to make that change before everyone else does. Okay, so that is the purpose of knowing the external shift and change before everyone has this upper hand or work on it. So always remember, to be prepared is half the victory. Now, I hope that my sharing here, okay, in a way benefits or you learn something, okay, out of it. If you want more information, if you want to stay connected, you can always find me on social media as well, right? These are the list of like social media that I have. Stay connected. If you have any questions, you can always ask me there as well. Thank you so much for tuning into my session. And once again, thanks to Star Property for having me. Thank you.